Hi, today we're going to talk about the 10 things we wish we had known when we started keto.
Yes, definitely.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Jennifer, lowcarbinspirations.com.
And I'm Urvashi, my blog is TwoSleevers.com. I have been on keto for 7 years and I have learned a lot along the way. And Jennifer, how long have you been on it?
I've been on it over 3 years now.
Have you really?
Yeah.
What got you into it?
Weight loss.
Yeah, me too. Me too. A lot of people I know do it because they're diabetic or they have epilepsy. Mine was just I needed to lose 80 pounds.
Yes.
Basically.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to talk to you about the 10 things. And now in the comments, we would love to hear from you about the things that you found particularly difficult about keto. And then when you do that, please let us know how long you've been on it so we get a better feel for how things get easier or more difficult. We're going to start with number 1. Keto can be overwhelming when you get started. Do you agree with that?
I do. You have to figure out your pantry.
Yes.
You have to clean out everything. Your fridge, you don't know what to buy. You go to the grocery store, you're lost. People say shop on the outside and you're like, but what's safe?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming.
Yes. And I think the other thing that becomes complicated is people think that the day you start, you have to start tracking macros that day. You got to get it perfect that first day. And meanwhile, you're trying to recover from carb flu.
Exactly.
Right?
You know what I tell people? Because it is so overwhelming, I tell people, look, just cut out the carbs and the sugar. Just no white bread and no sugar, because that already is a big adjustment.
Yes.
And even just one of those, sugar. I mean, it took me probably a good 3 days of pure hell.
Yes, absolute hell.
To get through the sugar addiction. And then it took probably 7 days to change the palate to where you felt like a strawberry tasted like a strawberry.
Yes.
So even if I always tell people, forget the macros, forget the rules, forget everything, just start with one thing. Don't be overwhelmed, because people get overwhelmed and they quit.
They quit.
And I would never want that for somebody.
Exactly. So. You and I have a very similar approach to it. I have on the blog a 4-week plan, and people look at that and they go, this is too easy, this is never going to work. Because again, like Jennifer said, you could do this full out, like you could start tracking macros and this and that, but your brain needs to adjust to no carbs, and you feel, some of us will get the keto flu, you feel fuzzy, you feel dizzy. So yes, keto can be overwhelming, but that's only if you think you have to be perfect the day one. You don't have to be perfect.
Yes. I always tell people also, you either have one of two things. It's either sweet or crunchy. Yes. Which one is it?
Yeah.
And then I had to find substitutes for those. So sweets, fat bombs, like your fat bomb book. Like
shameless plug, shameless plug. Yes.
Yeah, you could totally like find what you love and then find some substitutes, because it's so much easier to get through the hump of feeling sad that you don't get it, kind of almost grieving.
Yes.
That you're changing something because all you think about is, what am I missing? But you don't even realize that the food tastes really good.
Which brings us to number 2, which is people think about it as a diet, and you think about everything you're going to give up, and it's actually not about what you're going to give up. It's about the things that you're going to be able to eat that you, like us, may not have eaten for years and years. What was your one thing that you were able to eat on keto that you were like, I can't believe I get to eat this again?
I have a really good chocolate chip cookie dough fat bomb recipe, and cookie dough was off the table.
Yes.
And when I realized that, wow, fat tastes really, really good.
Yes.
It was like, and the Lily's chocolate chips, or I mean, there's so many people that make chocolate chips now. There's, there's so many now. But when I started, Lily's was it. Yeah. And I still use them.
Yeah, I do too.
But it was cookie dough.
For me, it was butter. So I had gone years and years like trying to eat low fat, trying to eat low calorie, and I hadn't had butter in literally 2 years. And the idea that you could eat butter again, I mean, you almost had this thing of guilt. You're like, I get to eat bacon, I get to eat lobster, I get to eat steak, right?
Yes,
And I think that, this is true of us in many walks of life, is that you think about what you're giving up, not what you're going to gain.
Exactly.
Right?
Number 3, you won't be hungry. And that's kind of hard to believe, because you think, like, I started for diet. I wish I could just take that word and just make it go away, because I started with diet, but it's lifestyle.
Yes.
And when you realize, fat is very satiating.
Yes.
Very. I was that type that if I ate carbs and sugar, I needed more and more and more. And I was hypoglycemic. So that is, I mean, every 2 hours,
you had to eat something.
I had a doctor tell me to carry glucose tablets in my purse.
Oh my God.
I've done that for the longest time. I didn't know any better. So the hunger or the low blood sugar. So when you eat keto and when you eat the right amount of foods that don't trigger those insulin spikes and that glucose going off the charts, and you're full, you're like, what's happening?
Yes.
What's happening? Like, you don't even realize. I've never felt
full.
Like full.
I know. And you know something interesting? It's like when that happened to me, I realized how much time we spend thinking about what to eat, what to make, cooking it.
Everything you do is surrounded by food.
Yes.
It was like, we're going to go to the amusement park. Well, what do they have to eat there?
Yes.
Because you were worried about the, well, I was worried about the, yes.
For me, it was, I did not like the way food controlled me. Like, I did not like the fact that I was on a plane and I had to stop and think about what happens if I get hungry on it. Because if you're eating carbs and your blood sugar crashes, you need food right then. And your body is programmed to go hunt for food. It is not a willpower issue. It's a hormonal issue that you're not going to be able to overcome.
And you can't control it.
You can't control it. Your friends and family are going to worry about you, and you're going to get a lot of well-meaning advice from people that you should ignore. Tell me about how that happened for you.
I think I just ignored all of that. I really did. I had a one-track mind, and I just said, you do you and I'll do me.
Yeah. My thing was, you weren't worried about me when I was eating popcorn and cookies, and you're worrying about me when I'm eating steak and vegetables. Seriously?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think that, again, as we were talking about, so much of our social life is around eating and food. So if you go and say, I don't, and this is true for me for many days, I don't eat in the mornings and I don't eat lunch, and the first time I eat after dinner last night is at 4 o'clock. And they're like, you can't do that. That can't be good for you. Your metabolism is going to slow down if you don't eat. Like all of the, what I call the bro science, which is like, there's really no basis in fact for any of it, but you get a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
Was your husband supportive?
Yes. He just said, do I have to eat that way? So, that's the other thing.
Yes.
When you start, people are like, well, I'm starting, but nobody in my family is helping me. They think that they have to have a buddy, and it is good to have a buddy, but it doesn't have to be in your own house.
Yes.
So what I tell people is that, still make your protein, your carb, and your veggie, but you just eat the protein and the veggie. And they won't even notice that you didn't put the mac and cheese or the rice or whatever it is on your plate.
Exactly.
And you just added a little extra butter to your steak or whatever it is, or cream to your, veggies or whatever.
So I have like a pork chops and cabbage recipe with mustard cream sauce. Mm-hmm. I have a lettuce, spicy stir-fry pork in lettuce cups. Like, tell me some of the recipes in your books that anybody would eat, whether they're keto or not.
Yeah, I think I have something similar.
Sorry, tell us the name of your book.
Easy Keto for Busy People by Keto Friendly Recipes.
And if we had been not so busy, we would have planned it better. So when Jennifer came down from Austin, we would have had her book. But we were busy people, so
this is totally off the cuff.
Yes.
Like I just happened to be in Dallas, and I happened to be here, and we met up, and
here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. So I have an egg roll in a bowl. It's just basically seasoned cabbage that you fry. You put a little bit of butter in there. You put coconut aminos, some good seasonings, and pork. And my kids make that when I'm not at home.
See, now that to me is the ultimate victory.
It is.
Now I will tell you the next point that I wish that people had told me, because as Jennifer mentioned, we're perfectionists. Yeah. Many of us, after we have been on keto for a while, will have what's called a cheat. Okay, I hate that word. I hate that word because I should be allowed to adjust my macros and eat what I want on my birthday. I should be allowed, if I'm in France, to be able to enjoy something without feeling guilt. And I think that for some of us, in the long run, 7 years into it, that's how we sustain keto. I don't know what your point of view is.
I have a whole different mind shift to that I tell people. I no longer have that word cheat in my vocabulary. I have the word treat. Because cheat indicates you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And treat is a very rare thing.
Yes.
So
I love that.
I know.
I think it's important from multiple perspectives. One is, as we talked about, not feeling like you're doing something wrong. And I think the other thing that when I talk to people who haven't started keto and need to, they'll go, I can't imagine going the rest of my life without cake. Yes. And I don't want to say you can have cake, because what if they're epileptic? What if they're diabetic, and having that piece of cake lands them, in some kind of serious health trouble? Mm-hmm. But for those of us who are doing it for weight loss, in the first couple of years, I was extremely strict. I needed to lose a weight. I needed to establish new eating patterns. I was extremely strict. I didn't allow myself any breaks. After that, once a week, I would allow myself a small carby item. And I discovered that it made me absolutely sick. So I'm like so excited. I'm like, I get to have a treat, and I'm like, it was not fun. It was not fun.
I know that.
So this brings us to another point that people don't talk about, whatever number this is now, which is that there are two types of people for keto, I've found. One is moderators and one is abstainers. So a moderator can have a little bit and be okay, and an abstainer can absolutely never touch it. Which are you?
I have to abstain. I have to, because I feel like if I took one, then I feel like there's a railroad track and I'm going to go right off. Like, I can't, and maybe that's an addictive personality trait that I have or something.
I think it's an adaptive personality.
Okay. I'm going to abstain.
Yeah, my husband is like that. He needs to absolutely abstain because if he starts, he'll keep going. I can have a box of chocolates in the house and eat one chocolate a day and make the box last for a month if I hide it from my husband. And I've always been like that. I was like that when I was overweight. I could just have one piece of chocolate. Yeah.
So in the beginning, since we're talking about beginning, there's one thing that I absolutely had to do, and that was take all of my trigger foods out because of my personality.
Yes.
So the kids could have strawberry ice cream in the freezer, but don't you dare put chocolate ice cream in there. And
it is hard to sustain long term. So people say, look, you shouldn't start keto because you can't do it in the long run. Well, Jennifer said 3 years. I've been doing it for 7. And there are things that we've done to adjust, over the years. So talk about the long term thing for you. What is your perspective?
So long term, I mean, my goal was to lose 100 pounds and I'm nearly halfway there.
Yeah.
But it's a lifestyle. I'm not going to kill myself doing this. But I will say that the more and more I've done keto, I mean, I've named my website Low Carb Inspirations for a reason. I knew that keto was super strict.
Yes.
And I knew that out of every diet plan ever made to man, it is some form of low carb.
Yes.
So I knew that when you get to maintenance, I was gonna treat myself with maybe a sweet potato or maybe some peas, peas soup, peas and pinto beans.
You don't ask for much, do you? I know, but it's true.
I know.
This mentality about this is wrong, that's wrong, this is not keto. Don't even get me started about this is not keto. I hate those comments. We'll discuss that another time.
Well, keto's not a food. Keto is a state.
It's a
and that drives
state.
me crazy too. It's like, that's not keto. You know what? I can't stand keto police.
Yeah, I can't either.
And so that's the other point, is that we're all just trying to better ourselves.
Yes.
And if you are one of those keto police, it would probably be best for you to maybe hold in your comments. You may not do it, but for somebody who is just beginning, it is so hard to hear. You know, as an overweight person, you've been talked down to and talked down to and talked down to. And when you hear that you've done something wrong from a keto police person, it just shatters that inner core.
It's shaming another person, which I don't have any patience
so
for.
in some of the groups that we run, we tell them, if you don't agree with it, that's okay. No, we are all different.
Yes.
And you don't have to agree with it, but there is a very nice way to go, hey, if you like your Coke Zero, let me tell you about Zevia.
Yes.
And not like, Coke Zero is not keto.
Yes. In the long run, what's working for me is more low carb. So let's talk about what these terms mean. The standard American diet is 300 grams of carbs. Keto is somewhere between 20 and 50. And low carb is considered anything below, somewhere between 100 and 150. Totally arbitrary divisions, but that's a good heuristic for us to use going in. So what has worked for me is to not eat in the morning because I'm not hungry in the mornings. And then if I really want to introduce some carbs, I allow myself whole foods. Like I can have rice, and in my case, it takes 1/4 cup of rice. That's all the rice I need to put underneath any of my food. I can have beans if I'm doing low carb that day and not doing keto. I can have some grains, but not really. Like grains really do make me sick. But we're talking about life and we're talking about jobs. By the way, for those of you who are saying I travel all the time, I can't do it. I have 3 million frequent flyer miles and I did it. So you can do it. We can talk about how.
Yeah, you can do it. I don't travel as much as you do.
Yeah, nobody does. It's
everywhere. I mean, travel is a big discussion. Yes. Hey, I'm going on vacation. Hey, I'm traveling. What do I bring?
Yes.
You don't have to pack your Instapot. You don't have to, or Instant Pot. You don't have to pack your mini waffle maker to make a chaffle.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, there's hamburger places. Just get it without the bun.
Yes. I feel like people think that all they can have is grilled chicken and a salad. And what have you and I spent the last few years trying to do?
Show many of options without being so restrictive.
Yeah. So I feel like one of the things that helps people the most is having a wide variety of recipes that everybody will eat. Yes. So when you create these recipes, give me some idea of how you approach it. Like I know there are people that are like xanthan gum this and almond flour that and bizarre ingredient the third. Like how do you approach that?
So first of all, I try and start very simple. If grandma had a chicken pot pie recipe, which this is a true story that I loved, well, how am I going to do that? And I just take, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty doggone close.
Yeah.
So it's just taking what I grew up with, what I know and what I love. And I do experiment quite a bit. I have the weird ingredients.
I do too. This whole book has 7 ingredients that you will need to go get if you're going to cook keto baking. Almond flour, coconut flour, xanthan gum, swerve, truvia, you know, those things you are going to need.
If you want to go outside of meat and veggies and you want to make this a lifestyle and you want to have the things that you used to like, or the keto cakes rather than going to the bakery, you will need to buy a few ingredients, but I mean, it's totally optional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check out Jennifer's book. Oh, Jennifer, by the way, has an amazing chaffle cookbook that has sold and sold and sold. It's got a ton of different types of chaffle recipes in it, so you should check that out. And then the keto books that we both have are on Amazon that you can check out.
And if you don't know what a chaffle is, for those strict keto people who are missing bread, it's basically cheese plus egg in a waffle maker. So cheese cooked in a waffle maker is a chaffle. So cheese plus waffle chaffle.
Chaffle.
And I don't know if it's chaffle, chaffle.
I know it's delicious.
One of my friends called it a chaffle, and I was like,
I
like that.
It's like
we're going to rename it chaffle. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Jennifer again with lowcarbinspirations.com.
And I'm Urvashi. My blog is TwoSleevers.com. Thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful.